When you look back at where we were just a year ago, the contrast in our trade relationship with China couldn't be more stark. Today, I want to take you inside the complex world of U.S.-China trade negotiations and explain the recent developments that have dramatically shifted this critical economic relationship. Let's start with some context. In April, President Trump implemented his reciprocal tariff policy, placing a 34% tariff on Chinese imports. This was a bold move that immediately changed the dynamic between the world's two largest economies. While most countries responded to these tariffs by expressing willingness to negotiate without immediate retaliation, China took a different approach. Beijing quickly matched with their own 34% tariff on American goods, creating a situation that threatened to spiral into a full-scale trade war. The president, determined to ensure his trade policy would be effective, responded by signaling even higher tariffs. This led to a period of escalating tensions that necessitated direct, high-level discussions between American and Chinese officials. What many don't realize is the extensive diplomatic work that occurred behind the scenes before any public announcements were made. There were numerous official and unofficial communications between Washington and Beijing as both sides carefully assessed the situation and explored potential paths forward. The Treasury Secretary described these initial meetings as being focused on de-escalation, an accurate characterization of what was needed to prevent further economic damage to both nations. The breakthrough came during intensive negotiations in Geneva. These face-to-face meetings allowed for frank, pragmatic discussions that ultimately produced meaningful results. After marathon sessions, both sides agreed to a temporary pause in the tariff escalation, creating space for more comprehensive negotiations. It's important to address some mischaracterizations that appeared in global media following the announcement. The Chinese state media, particularly the Global Times, suggested that the United States had gained a deeper understanding of the correct way to deal with China, implying America had backed down from its position. Similarly, some critics claimed the administration retreated due to pressure from Wall Street and American businesses concerned about disruptions to their supply chains. These interpretations missed the fundamental reality of what occurred. To be clear, the administration's approach has been consistent with the president's campaign promises. He had pledged a 10% global tariff with substantially higher rates for China. The current situation, with China facing effective tariff rates of approximately 50% when all measures are combined, and the rest of the world at 10%, aligns perfectly with that vision. The initial 34% was specifically in response to China's disproportionate retaliation. The subsequent adjustment wasn't a retreat, but rather a strategic realignment to the original plan once China showed willingness to negotiate. Let's break down the current tariff situation to understand the full picture. The administration has implemented several layers of tariffs on Chinese goods. The original tariffs from 2018, which placed 25% on many Chinese imports, including steel, aluminum, and high-technology products. Additional 20% tariffs on products related to fentanyl precursors, and then the 10% global tariff, which also applies to China. When combined, these measures result in approximately 50% effective tariffs on Chinese imports, a significant economic lever. An important aspect of the current agreement is its conditional nature. China has received a 90-day pause to negotiate further, but has not permanently avoided higher tariffs. If these negotiations don't yield satisfactory results, the administration retains the option to reinstate the higher tariff rates. This structure creates a powerful incentive for China to engage constructively in the upcoming talks. A critical component of the agreement involves China's commitment to remove their countermeasures. These include restrictions on exports of essential materials like rare earth magnets and other industrial goods that American manufacturers rely on. The removal of these barriers represents a tangible early win for American industry. The immediate agreement achieved in Geneva is just the first step in a longer process. The next phase will involve broader negotiations aimed at opening China's economy to American goods and services, addressing the fundamental trade imbalance between our nations. This represents a challenging long-term project. Previous administrations have secured promises from China that weren't fulfilled. However, the current approach differs significantly by backing diplomacy with concrete economic consequences. What distinguishes this approach from previous efforts is the administration's willingness to use America's economic power as leverage, rather than relying solely on diplomatic language. The president has demonstrated a willingness to implement substantial economic measures when necessary. This shift in strategy appears to be one that Chinese officials understand and respect, creating a new dynamic in the relationship between Washington and Beijing. The U.S.-China trade relationship remains one of the most complex and consequential economic partnerships in the world. The recent developments represent significant progress, but considerable work remains to achieve a truly balanced trading relationship. The administration's goal remains clear: create jobs in America and reduce the trade deficit with China. These recent negotiations have established a framework that could finally make meaningful progress toward those objectives. The coming months will reveal whether this new approach can deliver the lasting changes to our trade relationship that have proven elusive for decades.